If you didn't have him doing this, this video would not work whatsoever. What is up, people of the internet? Today, we are going to do Parkway Drive Wishing Wells. Let me just say, I have heard Parkway Drive before. Parkway Drive was one of my favorite bands growing up, but I haven't kept up with their recent music whatsoever. The last album that I really heard was Deep Blue. Their playing style really inspired a lot of my playing style. In fact, if you listen to some of my older music, it basically sounds exactly the same as Parkway Drive. Guitar, drums, everything basically sounds like a Parkway Drive song. I'm going to show you a little snippet of one of my old songs, and this song's working title was actually Parkway Song because it sounded exactly like Parkway Drive. But back then I was kind of building up my influences and what I wanted my sound to be, and they were one of the stepping stones that kind of led me to my own playing style. Been requested by you guys, and I thought it'd be cool to check out some of their more recent stuff. I haven't heard any of this. I am familiar with their sound, but they've obviously changed their sound and progressed over time. They've been a band for like 12 years or something like that now. So I haven't heard anything past Deep Blue. I think I heard one of their singles. I can't remember the name of it. They made a music video where they were jumping out of airplanes. That's the only song that I've heard from them past Deep Blue. So we're gonna check this out. Here's a snippet of one of my old songs, the Parkway Song. See what I mean? Definitely you can tell the Parkway Drive influence, I think anyways. Before we hop into this, thank you guys for all the support on the channel. If you like what I'm doing here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join everyone else who has. Let's hop into this.
I spoke about today and asked if God had come and play. I've dug a shallow hole for him to sleep, but I swear he just won't answer me. I call on out, is he afraid? I'll bury him down with the ones he keeps. And if the devil's listening, I'll come for him as well. If I suspect he had a hand to play, and if I see his face in town, there's room for two down underground. Nothing's gonna stop me till I'm done. Until I'm done! Until I'm done!
That's cool.
Until I'm done! Until I'm done! 'Cause tonight I'm killing gods! Killing gods! Everything between the serpents and the absence hitting home. Peripheral glances and the chasing of the sound. I never knew I'd miss until it's gone. So ask me how I'm coping, and I'll smile and tell you I'm just fine. Well, down inside I'm drowning in the fucking rain. Because when everything is empty and your heart is set to decay, sometimes all you wish for is a place, is a place to place the blame.
So before this goes on too long, I don't really care for his spoken word type stuff like in the beginning of this. The way that his voice is just kind of throws stuff off for me like that. I get why people would like that, but has never really resonated with me too much, especially with the acoustic guitar behind it in the intro. So that wasn't my favorite, but as soon as everything kicks in, it's good old Parkway Drive again for me. I try not to go into these things comparing them to what they used to be, but that's the only frame of reference I really have of them so far. So for me, the beginning part wasn't as good, but not because of the music wasn't good or whatever. It's just because I don't really like the sound of his spoken word, if that makes sense, hopefully. One of the things I've really always liked about him, specifically Winston, their vocalist, is you can see the emotion in everything that he does. From what I've seen from their back catalog anyways, they always had very insightful lyrics conveying different emotions or different types of feeling. And I mean, if you watch his face here, you can see the actual emotion on his face and how he's getting into it and digging in. He's always done that. It's always been one of the things I've really liked about him. You can tell they've kind of went in a little bit different direction than sticking with that like straight metalcore, I guess you would call it, type of sound they were doing before. But you could kind of tell with Deep Blue that they were moving a little bit in that direction. So far, really like the heavier part though.
Drown you in your wishing wells. Burn your living for your hell. Damn you all. This a night I'm killing gods. The incendiary shockwaves scorch the policy, the devastation that only muscle leaves. The chasing incantations of daily rituals, the collapsing rule honesty. So ask me how I'm coping. I'll smile and tell you I'm just fine. We'll down in silence, screaming till I fucking bleed. Because when everyone's expendable and your heart can take the weight, the last thing that you wish for is the face to face the pain.
Really like how everything dropped out there, let him take it, and then bam, back in. You guys know I like that.
Drown you in your wishing wells. Burn your living for your hell. Damn you all. 'Cause tonight I'm killing God.
Nice build up with the toms and the bass guitar. The bass guitar isn't as bassy. They have a little bit of a distortion on it, you can tell underneath. So it's not my preferred bass sound. I think if they had that bass sound dialed in a little bit heavier sounding, it'd have a lot more weight to it. People really underestimate the amount that the actual sound of the bass guitar helps the guitar sound, especially in metal with distorted guitars. If you have the right bass tone and your drums don't sound like trash cans, you can really make some good stuff. If you can nail down the rhythm section, which is the drums and bass, get a really good sound out of those, most people will forgive a little bit on the guitars. A little bit different. First impression of Parkway Drive Wishing Wells, I really like the heavy parts. I've always really liked the sound of his scream. He did the spoken word thing there a little bit at the end. Didn't really care for that much still, so my initial thought on that from the beginning stayed true to the end. Just his scream has got so much like power, and he's another one, along with the Architects singer, he's another one that you can like feel the emotion in their voice. He's like a prime example of who I would point to for people who don't like harsh vocals and don't understand why people do like it. I would show them either him or the singer from Architects. And if they're open-minded, they hopefully would see the emotion, and you could see it in his face there, obviously. When I did the In Flames video that came out recently, if you haven't checked that out, check it out. It has a similar video to this one, where it's just the guy standing there going through the song. But one major distinction is this is the actual singer for the song. That one wasn't. That was a paid actor. They did some sort of glitch effect in his face there. You could just see the straight raw emotion, the way they lit his face, having two lights from behind, backlighting the sides of his cheeks. So you get that gloomy, like, they use that a lot in horror movies to give like that eerie type feel. They did the same thing with this, only instead of using downcast lighting, they used lighting from each side and the back, which gives him a nice little silhouette around him of light. And also keeps his eyes dark, so you're not fixated on his eyes. You're just watching the whole entire performance. I like how also the camera was very close up to begin with and backed away a little bit as the song went on. So you saw more and more of his body and then started zooming back in. I don't know if any of you guys noticed that, but it got closer and closer and closer towards the end of the song there. So cool little use of little tiny subtle things like that. And obviously having a singer that puts as much emotion into it as he does, and having him do this, not a paid actor, you see every bit of emotion. You see the sweat drops on his forehead there. You can even see them at the very beginning of it. I'm assuming they did this whole entire pass several times for the video. He probably didn't nail everything the very first take. That's one thing I noticed as soon as the video started. As soon as it starts, it's a close-up of his face, and you can see the drops of sweat on his forehead if you pay attention, like full on going for it. And in between where the vocal stops in the beginning and the music takes over, you can see him screaming to himself. That's the type of thing you need to get for this sort of video. If you're gonna pull something off like this, it needs to be this. You need to see the raw emotion. You need to see everything going into this. It's not a performance video. You don't got a whole bunch of different cuts. You don't have everything else to keep it interesting. So everything was resting on him to do that. And I think he pulled that off incredibly well. So props to him. Winston, fantastic job. You're never gonna watch this video if you happen to. Fantastic job. I think this was a good move on their part, showcasing him. He's obviously one badass dude, has a great sound to his voice and a lot of emotion to display. You could tell that they've switched a couple things up in their sound, which I guess would be just the natural progression of them getting a little bit older, infusing different styles. Obviously they, over the last 10 years, have gotten different influence and stuff in their playing as well. So no harsh criticism from me on kind of evolving their sound a little. It doesn't sound as good as what I'm used to hearing from them from Deep Blue and Horizons, but this song in general, if this was a standalone song from a new band that I didn't know before, I would like this song. On this channel, that's what I try to do, go on an open mind, listen to it as a song itself, not as a Parkway Drive song that I haven't heard for 10 years. So this, as a standalone song, has good parts, has parts that I don't really care for as much, like the spoken word or the acoustic intro, but that's not because it's a Parkway Drive doing it, it's because I didn't really care for the sound of that part, whether it was from them or a different band. But all in all, good song, great performance by him for this video. If you didn't have him doing this, this video would not work whatsoever. So that was a good choice. Seems like they've kind of toned things down just a tiny bit from what they used to do. So I'm kind of interested to kind of catch up on their music, dive in a little bit deeper on their more recent stuff and see if this is an indication on where they're at now or if this is just this song's sound. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments, this video and the song itself, Parkway Drive in general. If you guys like what I'm doing here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join everyone else who has, and I'll see you guys in the next video.